Indira?
Oh no, there it started. Someone started
Okay.
recording.
All right. Yeah, thanks everybody. Well, thank you to the woman of the moment. I think when we mention football in South Africa, especially for women's football, you've got so many people, who paved the way. I remember in high school where the start of women's football was back home in Eastern Cape in Tata. We would always, when we watch Banyana Banyana, we'd always find Naungla Mlungu, there's that white girl playing, and we'd figure that, wow, this woman, like, she can jol. Like, she's not just in chair there holding like a candle or what, like, she can jam. And fast forward to 2023, she amassed 185 caps for South Africa. And yeah, it's such an honor and privilege. We welcome Janine van Wyk. Madam, first of all, Merry Christmas. We'll say compliments when after Monday, because we say in our language compliments to the new year,
Yeah.
but welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk to you about my career.
So you've been speaking to countless people about your career, but take me back to the very first game, 2005 against Nigeria. And I believe you scored that game. Take me back to the very first cap for Banyana Banyana.
Well, I played 185 caps and I can't remember all of them. But I can't remember the very first game either. I believe people are saying that it was against Nigeria. It was actually against Mozambique that I played my first game and scored against Mozambique from the halfway line, a free kick.
Oh, so a
And
Rooney type of thing.
almost a Rooney type of thing, yes. But yeah, that's all I can really remember is playing in that very game, getting my couple of few minutes for the national team because I first started with a under 19 Basetsana team and got promoted into the Banyana squad. And my full debut tournament was the AFCON tournament in 2005. But just for preparation match, we played against Mozambique, and that is when I scored that goal, and which probably set me up to be part of the squad in 2005 for the African Women's Championship.
So did soccer just come naturally to you, or was it something that you really invested yourself in?
Well, it started at a very young age. I mean, football was in my family. My grandfather played, my uncles played, my cousin played. Where I actually found the love of the game for was in the gardens during school holidays, playing with my cousins. And that's where it all started, is just in the garden, kicking the ball about. And my cousin actually joined a football club in Germiston at Score. That was my first football club that I joined, Score Metals, and it was obviously a all boys football club and the league that they played in. But Janine wanted to be part of the team and be part of something that my cousin played because we were very close, and that's where football started. And yeah, it never ended there, even though it was a very difficult time for me being the only girl in an all boys team playing an all boys league. You kind of felt like a little bit isolated and felt like you didn't belong at times, because you were this girl. And whenever we changed in the change room, I always had to go to the ladies' room where I changed myself, and I felt very, you know, isolated from everyone else. I couldn't have that relationship with the boys in the change room while they were changing. So I missed that part while growing up. So it was very difficult, especially from the sideline, where a lot of the opposition coaches and parents always you know would say these or comment these things on the sideline about a girl playing with the boys and so on, and it was unfair because the boys couldn't go hard against me and so on. So It was difficult, but after a couple of years down the line playing with the boys, everyone got to know, this girl that plays with the boys in the boys' league, and it became a lot easier. I then made the local district team with the boys. So yeah, things got a little bit easier, but yeah, it was fun, and that's where it all started.
So you start there from playing with a bunch of boys to now, of course, then playing with a lot of women. But I want to talk about, being in the national team. Was there ever a point where, because I can only imagine from somebody on the outside looking at this team, here's this predominantly excellent white girl playing here. Like, was there any racial barriers that you had to cut through from an earlier stage into your career?
Well, look, I think it was difficult for me finding a women's team to play for. After the boys, you have to transition when you reach the age of 14. You can't no more play with the boys. And it was a stressful period because, if there wasn't really in the suburban areas I played in or come from. It was all Afrikaans speaking girls. They all played netball. They played hockey. I played hockey myself. There wasn't really football in schools. There wasn't really football in the school that I went to. So it was a difficult period. And, I started questioning whether I should just, continue to play hockey and give up football because there was nothing out in the suburban areas that I was from. But luckily, Fran Hilton Smith, the former technical director of women's football at SAFA, she spotted me playing with the boys, and she was the one that actually got me a team in Guatemala, my first team that I played for, women's team. Remember, it was actually the Sanglam League that we used to play in, and they used to call it the Alala Cup. And that was the first team that I joined, the Springs Home Sweepers in Guatemala, east of Johannesburg. And when I first went there, it was very different for me. It was uh, learning a different language, learning how different backgrounds these girls, the girls came from, and the environment that they grew up in, very different to where I was. Grew up in. I wouldn't say privileged because my parents didn't give me everything that I wanted. We also grew up, struggling, and my mom had to, really dig deep to get me a pair of boots or ask people to get me secondhand boots to play football with. But when we went there, I could really see the struggle of, what people would go through and the living conditions. And I was very privileged. I felt very privileged to where I came from. But the language was a really difficult one to adapt to. I mean, the culture, of course, it was different, but I was one that always, liked to listen to people's stories and like to be different compared to everyone else. And I remember, always coming there and having to change and not having change rooms to change in. So you have to change under the tree and everyone else is around you. This is women's football. And they just give you a bag. There's your bag. There's the kit bag. There's a bunch of socks. Grab whatever kit you want. And that is, we're going out to play football. And that was very different for me because playing with the boys, each and every player got their own kit for the year. You go home, you take it home, you wash it. When I came there, it was like you grab it out of the kit bag, you play, and you put it back in the kit bag. Someone else was going to wash it for you. Or next week you come, it's not washed, but unfortunately, you just have to go back and play with the stinking kit. But that was football for you. You just wanted to get on the football field and play. And yeah, the type of pitches that we played on as well, it wasn't nice and nice pitch grass, and where you play with the boys, everything is cut nicely for you. The fields are marked. When you come there with the girls, it's marked chalk, like with chalk on the day that you have to play. Some lines are skewed and it's not actually a straight field, but you get to play football. So that was a very big adaptation for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the girls were very welcome back in the day. It was, I think, at the day that I entered the township was probably the most frightening because I didn't know what to expect. And, going in and people actually knocking on our windows as if to ask, are you guys lost? Because we've never seen white people drive in our township before. But here you are. And then we would say, no, we're going to be playing football. So after some time and a period of, you know, adapting to the environment and the lifestyle of my teammates and where they're from, you know, getting to, you know, having to rub fish oil on my legs before a match to avoid injury. And, you know, I would say, no, I'm good, thank you. And they're like, no, you're part of the team. You have to do that. And so, and that's part of the experience. And I think that's part of the acceptance of, you know, people just feeling like, I like making me feel part of the team, because I didn't shy away from anything. I didn't shy away from the traditional things that they had to do. And after some time, I actually drew a crowd to the Kwatema Stadium, because I wanted to see this white person that entered the stadium, entered their township to play football. And we actually had a crowd every weekend come down to support us, and that was just amazing for me. And that's where I actually started to feel like I belong to this game. I belong to the sport, regardless of our differences. You know, we all scream one language, and we all love what we do, and that's where all the love started for the game.
And like, how? Yeah, there's so many things on that, but how far are we in terms of women's football in South Africa because you're a journey woman, like you've played in Scotland, you've played in vast number of countries, I believe, and you've played in tournaments that are abroad. How far are we off from other countries, do you believe?
Well, look, I think when you look at Banyana Banyana itself and the success of Banyana Banyana, going to a major tournament such as the World Cup, getting round of 16, we don't have a professional league in our country yet. And yet we can actually achieve all that. But if you look at South African football itself, women's football itself, I think that we have made big strides in terms of the past decade or more. We have made big strides. We've closed the gap. Women's football is more recognizable. There's more opportunity for women's football to actually make a career out of it. Although it's still a little bit, the gap is very, very much, I would say, broad, and far away from European football to where we are. I mean, European football, you play, you earn money, that's all you do. Daily basis, it's all football. And yeah, you still find that many teams, majority of the teams that even playing in the Hollywoodbets Super League, that's supposed to be the highest league for women in our country, there's still teams and girls and players that, you know, balance a full-time job and playing football over the weekend, and not earning money from playing football. They just earn money from their full-time job. So we're still very far from having a professional league. But that also saying, our development structure is very limited. I don't think there's enough development structures in our country, especially for women, for girls. You look at the Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Man United. You look at in America, they have girls academies running from the age of 9 all over in every single club that there is. And here we don't hardly have any girls starting from that age. You only find girls starting at school level from the age of 12, 13, where they're actually starting to kick a ball. So we are actually very far behind in terms of the development of the game. But if you see in competition wise, when you see our national team competing against the rest of the world, you know, one can say that we are up there, we are closing the gap, but so much more has to be invested in the women's game of the year in order to able to compete in a World Cup final, semi-final, at Olympics final, and so on. We can only reach that stage because there's not many or a pool of players that we can actually sit and select from. There you have around 50 girls that the national team coach can select from, where you have the United States where they have to sit and bite their nails to see who they can actually pick from. And so that I'm saying, like, we have a long way to go still in terms of that. But that I believe that comes from our development. There's not enough for the girls in our country. A lot more has to be done for that.
And yeah, that's powerful. And speaking of that, you mentioned, the different clubs, your Arsenals, your Manchester United. Was in your prime career, I could say, in your primest of ever, were there not thoughts of going and testing yourself there? And if so, for which club?
Well, to be honest with you, growing up, I didn't, it was difficult to get abroad. It was even difficult to even think that there would be a national team. And then you grew up and you get into the national team and you get to your first Olympic Games. And then you start getting an eye opener of what women's football is about. There's so many teams, so many great players out there. Where do they play? There was once upon a time where American League developed and then it scratched and then it redeveloped again. And my career, my professional career actually started at age 29. That is when my first opportunity abroad came. But that is only because in 2016, South Africa qualified for the second Olympic Games. I had a great tournament in the Olympic Games and therefore I was picked up. And same with the girls that are currently playing abroad, like Fifi, Tembi, Linda, all of them are playing abroad because in 2019 they had a FIFA Women's World Cup that performed well. After that, Fifi, Fifi went to Italy. Tembi and Linda joined me at Houston Dash in America. So the doors only open when you play these major tournaments and get to express yourself and your talents. And at the Olympic Games in 2016, that is where I actually found myself at my peak and I could perform well and I could get a pro contract because women's football had developed already then. And, you could actually have a career in women's football at that time. And that's when I think at that age, maybe 2 years prior to my first pro contract, was when women's football uplifted globally, not only for myself. So it came really late, but I'm grateful that I managed to get a pro club abroad in America. Scotland played the UEFA Champions League in the quarterfinals of UEFA Champions League. I went to Denmark, although I didn't play in Denmark, but I was injured. I couldn't play, but I got to see the structures, the way they train, the way they play and perform. And of course, in Greece, just before I came back to South Africa. So you see all these countries, especially Greece, they're not quite where the Americans and the Scottish league is, but they are developing. They probably a step or two ahead of where South African football is because all the teams actually earn money by playing football. And that is something, and I wouldn't say that league is even better than what we have currently. But because we're not really investing money into women's football, we are not able to find the players that will, continue their careers in football. You find a lot of girls or players pulling away from football because they have to choose between playing football or something that they really love but not getting paid to do it, or a full-time job. And I think I was stuck in my early career of a decision that I had to make. Do I financially go and find a job that I have to sustain my lifestyle, or do I just continue to take the risk and continue with playing football? And luckily I had a family that supported me in that and that could give me a roof over my head. And many girls that are so talented don't have that support system. So they have to find themselves a job. So therefore, we have so many talented girls drop out of the game because they can't financially sustain their families. I would say, like, luckily for me, I managed to get a pro contract at age 29. But right now, there's endless opportunities for youngsters to make it big. At even 16 years old, they're able to go and play abroad and earn, great money to keep them sustained.
It's crazy how you started pro contract wise at 29. How do you know how many caps by then you had just before that Olympics?
Yeah, I had 114 caps. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Olympics, and I remember the 2016. That was big for South Africa. You had your swimmers, the soccer, the hockey, because I'm a hockey player myself, and we've had rufflings in terms of being selected or qualifying but not going, and all those things. I want to take me back to how was it like for you and participating in the Olympics? And secondly, do you guys all have to have these tattoos? Like I feel like any athlete, swimming, even basketball, they have the rings as is a tradition for all nations to have a tattoo like that once you've played or participated in the Olympics?
No, I think our first time that we qualified, the Banyana qualified for the Olympic Games was in 2012 in London.
Yes.
And although it didn't feel like a Olympic experience for us because we were isolated from, we didn't stay in the Olympic Village. We were
Mm,
in Coventry. So the Olympic Village was based in London, and we stayed because we played our games in Coventry. So we
mm,
kind of stayed in a hotel as if we just playing a tournament. So we didn't really get the feel of being in the Olympics. It was only really when we got to the stadium, everything was, Olympic branded. The change room was amazing. You could go and get Coke at 12 o'clock at night from a fridge for free, and Powerade and everything. All these things were for free. And then we got to 2016 in Rio Olympics, and we were in the village where you got to see different athletes from all over. We got to meet Rafael Nadal. You got to see all the other footballers roam around. You got to stay with the Brazilian um, team, Brazil, and got to see some of the Brazilian football players. So then you got to the feel of being in the village. But
wow.
I don't think the tattoo is a tradition, but I think it is, for me, it's like not every athlete in the world will get to experience being part of the Olympics or call themselves an Olympian. So I think for me, it's, you'll see many athletes have the rings. I have the rings as well. Funny story, one guy actually asked me in the elevator if I have the Audi, why do I have the Audi rings? And I'm like, you have no clue about sports. But anyway, um, but yeah, it's just something that not every athlete that is a professional athlete will actually experience being an Olympian. So I think it's very unique to have.
Mm. And talk me now, we fast forward now into you founding your own club. So you're like a whole Jomo Sono type of vibe. Like you found your own club, your JVW, back in 2013. Like how was that actually?
Well, JVW actually was established in 2012, and that was
Oh,
mainly in the schools league, because we have a schools league which was established in 2012, and the football club was established in 2013. But in 2012, while I was still playing, I could see so many girls play, from in a young age, playing with the boys, and I know how difficult it was and how one felt playing with the boys and how isolated you were. So went into schools and many times rejected to actually start up a league in the schools in Gauteng. And there were many sports coordinators, principals that rejected the fact that girls should play soccer in their schools. And so, after a lot of hard work and knocking on many doors, we managed to get about 9 schools that could actually participate in a small JVW league. And through that, we actually saw a lot of talented girls within the school league, and they didn't have clubs that they could go and play for because there weren't many girls football teams or clubs they could join, or even a league that they could join. And that was when JVW Football Club was established in 2013 to get these talented girls, these young girls, up and coming ones that are passionate about the game, into the football club and play. So In 2012, we started around 9 schools that participated in the JBW Schools League, and today we sit with close to 400 schools participating in the JBW Schools League. So the growth is tremendous, and it's just amazing to see the transformation over the years has happened, and so many girls are partaking more in the sports. And same with the JBW Football Club. In 2013, we only had 13 girls that played in the league, in the local league in our region, and today we have 6 teams that are participating in different leagues, and have close to 100 girls in the JVW Girls Football Club structure. So yeah, it's grown a lot, and I'm just happy that it's become so successful, although it's really hard work to sustain it financially, especially when you don't have a real sponsor that can back us. Hollywoodbets has been the past couple of years. They have been on board with JBW and helping us to uplift, the football club a little bit, bits by bits, and that's been helping us through the years to continue to give back to the girls, to give opportunity to the young girls. You've seen so many young girls, Gabby Salgado being one of them. She joined from the age of 12, and she's now a Banyana Banyana player. Linda came through the system as well at JVW, Mpumi Yandeni. So there's many players that came through JVW and just been successful. So you see a lot of players now in under 19, under 17, under 20 national teams, where you find yourself JVW 4, 5, 6 JVW players participating in that. So the development program and the club and everything else is doing well, and doing what we were meant to do is by giving girls opportunity to play.
And just finally, 185 caps, you're officially the world record. Like, what do you have to say to the next female, black, white, Indian, colored, you name it? What do you have to say to them that aspires to be just like you?
I would say nothing worth having comes easy. And that is my motto in life. Because if you really want something, you got to know that there's a lot of sacrifices and hard work that come with it. A lot of challenges and obstacles that you would face.
Yeah.
And dealing with failure as if failure is part of your success. There's no athlete in this world, top athlete, that has not failed to achieve something. So failure is part of the journey of success. And yeah, just continue to be yourself, work hard for yourself and no one else. And whatever your dream maybe you got to work for it. Nothing will come on a silver platter for you. If you really want it, you'll do anything, whatever it takes to achieve that, no matter how difficult it may be. So yeah, I think that is all. And no matter how successful you are, you need to continue to stay grounded, because I think a lot of youngsters, when they think they've tasted success once, and that's them, they've made it in life, and it's not like that. That is only the start and the first stepping stone to the next successful moment or next successful achievement for yourself. So that is how I've seen my career develop. Is you set a goal for yourself and you've achieved it, and that was just a stepping stone to whatever may come next, and whatever how hard you need to work for then something that is coming for you for next. And that is how I got to 185 caps, because I never dreamt that I would become a record holder. I just continued to work for it and continue to set small little targets and goals for myself, and that's how I achieved what I did.
Well, there you have it. Janine van Wyk, ladies and gentlemen, 185 caps, such an inspiration to many, not only just women, but even the men's, even the men's. I would love to get your opinion on the Bafana squad that was selected now for the AFCON. I mean, as an athlete as yourself, I'm sure tournaments such as these, the pressures that the guys in particular need to go? Do you feel like there's more pressure now because of the success of Banyana Banyana? Perhaps even the squad, are we happy? Are we content? Do you feel like the coach maybe missed a boat with one or two players? Like, just quickly get your thoughts on that.
Look, there will always be opinions of other people. You know, you and I will have a different opinion about the squad, and the coach has to select what he feels is the best team to go and give the best performance to South Africa and to represent South Africa at the AFCON. Of course, they have pressure. I think any athlete, any team going into such tournaments, they have pressure of expectations from their countries. But they are professional players, and they would have to go in with a plan and preparations for these tournaments to do the best that they can. But you know, as I said in the beginning, I think you and I, we both have opinions on that player should have been there, that player shouldn't have been there, and so on. But at the end of the day, these are the players that are going to represent us as a country, and these are the players that we're going to have to support and get behind them and rally them on. Because if they do happen to become successful, that opinion that you might have in the beginning might have changed. So it's about supporting our boys and not compare them to our girls and the success of the girls, because men's football, women's football is totally different. Also totally different area that we come from. It's only now that women's football is starting to rise and teams are starting to actually develop their own teams within their own countries. Men's football, this tournament has been there for many years. It's hard enough to get into the AFCON as it is already. So that in its own should be a huge achievement for Bafana Bafana, and we will go there and continue to support them and hope that they can bring us some success in this tournament.
Well, there you have it, a legend, giving her 2 cents on everything. Thank you for an amazing career that you've had. I think watching you for the first time up until the very last game, I mean, you're such an inspiration to not only the men, but many of the ladies. You'd find in many schools, there's an active now investment in women's football. Actually, I can say so for here in KZN, in Durban in particular. So, and it's for athletes like yourself, Bongi, for netball, and many other athletes, who've paved the way so that other ladies can run and seize their moment. So we thank you, we honor you, we salute you. Looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Janine, possibly maybe a coaching role, maybe being in SAFA, hopefully, maybe being in director, in spaces where we can adapt and apply more change as you're doing now. But really, from us, and I speak for everybody, thank you for the career. Thank you for imparting knowledge and wisdom, and also, your expertise to other female athletes, including whether it's in the Banyana Banyana team or in all the teams that you've played in. We really honor you, we love you, we salute you, and we're looking forward to see what's next for Janine van Wyk.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and taking me through my own journey as well from a young age. So I appreciate that. And yeah, you'll continue to see more of me on the side of the football pitch. And yeah, you'll never see me out of the football game. So I'll still stick around.
Oh, wow, there you have it, Janine van Wyk. Let me just stop this recording. Oh my word, that is Janine. That is so amazing.